AviationPros.com is the portal website for AMT, Airport Business, and Ground Support Worldwide magazines. Visit daily for breaking news, industry blogs, and insightful articles from our magazine's editorial team. And don't forget to sign up for our publication's daily e-newsletters. It's all at AviationPros.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Aviation Pros podcast. I'm Joe Petrie, Editorial Director for Aviation Pros. Avports and Tweed-New Haven Airport recently signed a 43-year lease agreement, which will see $100 million in airport improvement investments by the company via a unique two-agreement structure. I recently spoke with Avports CEO Jorge Roberts about the agreement and the company's vision for the airport in coming years. Jorge, well, first off, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. My first question for you is, tell me about the new lease agreement at Tweed-New Haven Airport. What is this agreement going to allow Avports and the airport to accomplish going forward?
Yeah, the Tweed-New Haven Airport Authority Board of Directors formally voted last Wednesday, August 17, to authorize a new lease and a management agreement between the Tweed-New Haven Airport and us Avports. The authority's action is really the latest step in a process that began more than a year ago when the airport officials announced a major agreement to move forward on the airport and to the benefit of flyers, taxpayers, and Southern Connecticut's regional economy. When you ask about what the new lease agreement kind of includes, it's really a construction of a new modern passenger terminal on the east side of the airport. Currently, the terminal is on the west side, so it'd be moving it to the east. A runway extension by 1,000 feet from where it is today to allow and accommodate farther routes for the existing ones with the existing kind of aircraft, narrow body aircraft, and then all the infrastructure improvements that need to be done related to this to address kind of the traffic and kind of safety concerns. And this is car traffic. We're going to be doing investments as well, about $5 million in noise, traffic, and environmental mitigation. The lease also, what's interesting is it eliminates the need for existing kind of state and city subsidies of the airport, which currently right now are running about $1.8 million per year. And lastly, we're assuming kind of the financial and operating obligations of the existing West Terminal, which underwent an expansion late last year to accommodate the start of the new airline of LO Airlines, and then continue to operate the airport just like we have done kind of over the past 2 decades.
Now, what is Avport's goal with Tweed during the length of the agreement? What kind of impact are you looking to have on the operations of the facility and the service in the community?
Our goal is to continue offering the outstanding service just as we've done at Tweed Airport for the past 2 decades. And that means kind of provide first-class service to the airport and its flyers. However, this deal does allow us to do that on a bigger scale where we take on more risks, one that can more fully meet the needs of the region and its flyers and the community. Under the O&M agreement, Avports will continue to operating and managing the airfield on behalf of the authority for a period of 43 years. And the authority remains the Part 139 sponsor, and that kind of, a lot of questions around that to make sure that the owner kind of retains, really ownership and also some responsibility. And so it's a shared kind of risk between the authority and us and a true public-private partnership. We've already kind of undertaken extensive renovations and expansion of the existing terminal, as I mentioned earlier, along with kind of the related infrastructure improvements. I would say going forward, we will begin work on a modern carbon neutral terminal in order to serve more flyers. And we will invest up to $3.25 million in noise mitigation programs along the way. Lastly, an environmental assessment is also underway before we can kind of begin construction of all the infrastructure and new terminal.
That's a lot of exciting improvements to hear about. Now, tell me a little bit, what makes Tweed such a compelling airport for Avports to invest in like this?
New Haven Airport sits on one of the most underserved markets in the U.S. and the authority was in need for capital and expertise to develop the necessary infrastructure to meet this demand. And there was the political will to partner with a private entity like us to make this happen. Unlike other P3s that have failed in the U.S., where political will was not there or misalignment. In this case, we had it fully, so that was very that made us encouraged us to kind of move forward. And really recognizing that the needs of Southern Connecticut, which is today one of the most densely populated areas in the U.S. But we found that most people in the area are driving more than a couple hours to New York to catch a flight, and there aren't really many alternatives to go forward for people to fly out of. So given all that, there was an existing kind of unserved demand, both on business and leisure. We found a functioning airport, which we knew for the past decades because we've been operating there. And then lastly, as I mentioned, the political leadership kind of wanting to develop this airport made this a very compelling proposition.
Now explain the two agreement structure of this lease. What makes this unique and what benefits does it offer Avports and Tweed?
First of all, this is the first of its kind public-private partnership P3 in the U.S., where a private entity takes on kind of the risk of the operating the airport, and then also this is outside kind of the FAA's Airport Investment Partnership Program, which to this date only one airport has gone through successfully. So this offers kind of an alternative versus some of the other P3s that we've seen, where it's just the facilities, but the rest of the airfield is just still operated by the authority, or vice versa. And so this allows kind of a true transfer of risk without kind of having to lease the whole airport. And so the first part is a lease. Where Avports will continue to operate and manage the terminal facilities, renovate the existing terminal, which we have already done, and finance and build a new terminal on the east side of the airport, and cover any airfield kind of shortfalls and cash, and so financially the authorities kind of covered there. And Avports will be overseen by the authority to ensure compliance with the agreement and the associated operating standards. Obviously, also the FAA kind of audits on a yearly basis on the Part 139. And then there's a second part, which is the amendment of the existing O&M agreement that we have today, where we'll continue to operate the airfield, expand the runway on behalf of the authority, kind of acting as its agent with other service providers or agencies. And then all these activities are in furtherance of the airport's master plan document, which was recently updated after a months-long process that includes extensive public input and currently under an exhaustive environmental assessment or EA process. And then this agreement is worth mentioning. It's been kind of accepted and approved by a number of government agencies, including the FAA. And the agreement, both agreements have a set of operating standards that we have to comply. So I would say that ultimately the benefits to Tweed is that the airport and the community will have the necessary infrastructure to serve the demand. And for Avports, the benefit is that it further extends our relationship with Tweed Airport, the airport authority, the greater New Haven, to include New Haven and East Haven and Southern Connecticut communities, and allows us to further our business into the public-private partnership model. This tests a model that can be replicated to other regional airports so that other communities can benefit from the positive economic impact airports bring.
Wonderful. Now, Avports is investing $100 million as a part of this deal. What are some of the improvements that we're going to see, and how soon are we going to start seeing them?
We're already doing some of those improvements and undergoing more. We started the design of the new terminal, which will be relocated to the east side of the airport. Late last year, we expanded the current terminal to meet the immediate demand, including Avelo's 14 daily flights. Currently undergoing the environmental assessment, which is in the final stages. Knock on wood, we'll get what they call a FONSI, or finding of no significant impact. And so next year we can kind of put a shovel on the ground to start expanding the runway and building the new terminal. By the end of 2024, we'll be expanding the runway and then the terminal by the end of 2025. And I think in terms of answering kind of the rest of the question, we're going to do a by local noise ordinances, which means that we'll implement requirements from an updated noise study within 5 years of the FAA approval and invest up to 3.25 million in additional noise mitigation programs. And lastly, we're going to fund all the environmental and traffic mitigation, kind of with total community investments of approximately $5 million.
So my last question is, what are the metrics Avports is looking at in terms of these improvements that will determine if this is a successful contract?
The short answer is we'll do what we said we would do in the agreement. In other words, we would, we have to expand the runway, we have built a new terminal in a federally and locally compliant and more importantly, financially and environmentally sustainable way to meet the passenger demand. And we'll all do this in partnership with the airport's key stakeholders, the local and federal agencies, as well as the airlines and others and service providers in the community. And then ultimately, lenders and investors, will have recovered their capital. The lease and the management agreements have rigorous operating metrics together with federal and local regulation and our environmental and social and government principles.
Well, thank you for your time today, Jorge. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to hearing more exciting news coming out of Tweed-New Haven in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to today's podcast. For more information on the Tweed-New Haven deal or Avports' other investments, make sure to check out our website, AviationPros.com. I'm Joe Petrie. We'll see you next time.